So Rachel Carson, as an author, she relates to other authors in her field of environmentalism by stating issues that are very detrimental to our environment, and she has the same ideals and compassions on how we need to be more progressive with other things that are harmful. She's very relatable to the authors in her field because she gives a very vivid image of the effects of harmful things in our environment. In class, we've talked a lot about the bad effects that human actions can have on the environment, such as spraying, DDT, but also when Immokalee came in and they talked about how the pesticides that were used on their planes, they couldn't go to work because it was harmful to them. This is similar. Rachel Carson spends a whole book talking about the bad effects of chemicals and the DDT and how it affects everything around it, the trees, the landscape, the air, and she depicts the image of if we keep using things like this, then there will be no animals and no organisms in our life, and it'll literally be silent. Like Silent Spring is a metaphor for when things are starting to bloom, when birds are starting to chirp, there will be nothing. It'll be silent. Important issues in the book that are raised are the effects that these chemicals can have on humans, especially animals that are exposed to it. The chemicals stick to the fat cells in their tissue and create carcinogens and give the animals cancer, which is really similar to a lot of reasons why humans get cancer now because of the bad things in our environment. Improvements that she could have made in this book were to have it been a little more realistic. Like, she gave a very drastic image that probably would not happen because at some point we would stop using them once we realize how bad they are. It's a similar thing, like when do we know we need to stop doing things that emit greenhouse gases? Like, we will never know because we've never been in a situation like that before. So we won't know the stopping point until it gets bad enough to where the masses are actually being harmed. The best audience for this type of book are any environmentalist or people who study things about the environment to give them an education on something that they might not normally reach out to.
Also, people who should not be reading this book are big capitalist corporations that are just trying to make a pretty penny at the expense of all of us beautiful Americans.
Like that guy in the video we watched earlier, who was talking about how it's the white people that want to hurt the brown and black people by not letting them use DDT because everybody should be using DDT. But white people are bad because we don't give it to brown and black people. But nowadays, more organic food is widely accepted, so we're making progress. Yay!
In 1943, the first 6 pounds of DDT landed into America. By 1959, 80 million pounds were applied on U.S. soil grounds.
So Rachel Carson tried for several years to get her ideas about DDT and the effects it has on the environment to newspapers, and they all denied her, and then she wrote this lovely book, and she was on New York Times, or she was the New York Times bestseller list for 84 weeks. That is a year and a half. This affected people big time.
This is one of the books that they say changed American history.
Yeah, one of 3.
DDT got very popular subsequent to the war after we started infesting all of our lands with radioactive materials, radiation.
Oh yeah, it also talks about in the book how it was widely used during the war for when American troops had to go overseas and they used DDT to kill all of the malaria so that the Americans would not come down with malaria because that would be awful. It's true. That sucks.
In 1945, Rachel Carson got insight that the Wildlife Services were doing research in Maryland, which was close to her home, on the effects that DDT was having on any living humans and animals.
Between 1945 and 1955, the annual use of pesticide for farm use went from 125 million pounds to over 600 million pounds. There's a good fun fact. Well, after World War II, when they decided that DDT was a great thing, they wanted to spread all over the country and that it could fix everything, they began to think that it could cure paralysis, which is also polio, in children. So they began in San Antonio in 1945. The health authorities attacked the city, spraying DDT all over the city to come in contact with all the children to make sure that everyone was cured of polio. In San Antonio, when they were spraying the DDT, all the people were told to stay inside for just a few moments and then they'd be okay. And they started spraying in all community areas, including backyards and public places, to where you didn't have a choice as to whether you were affected by the DDT. The public health department started staging demos to show the citizens that DDT was safe and effective. And then in 1957, when Massachusetts started spraying bird sanctuaries, Olga Hawkins, owner of the bird sanctuary, noticed her birds start to die, and outraged by it was a friend of Rachel Carson's and reached out to her to get help before the second round of spray came through because she knew that she couldn't do anything on her own. And this is when the research for Silent Spring began. Sir, do you know what DDT is?
DDT, you say?
DDT.
No, I'm not quite sure. I've never heard of that. Would you care to enlighten me?
Oh, well, by all means. DDT is a pesticide that started to be sprayed around the country subsequent to the World War II, and they did not know the harmful lasting effects of it, but they rapidly began to spread it, thinking that it could cure everything, including keeping away pesticides, insects, and curing polio. They believed it was very beneficial to our environment. But now we have learned the very harmful effects of it, where it became banned after the book Silent Spring became a nationwide controversy.
Bestsellers list for 84 weeks.
It was on the bestsellers list for 84 weeks in a row.
Can I ask you questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the harmful effects of DDT affecting us today?
Well, you die. And we have also learned that when organisms come in contact with the DDT, it starts by being absorbed through the feet, and then it slowly takes over the central nervous system, slowly paralyzing and killing organisms that come in contact with the DDT. The effects have been more rapid within the fish, birds, and insects, because us humans are a lot larger and it took a little bit more to overtake us. The spread of it was so rapid, though, that you now found traces of DDT in almost nearly all the food you have. You could test almost everyone's hair in this nation and find traces of DDT in all hair strands.
Thanks for answering my question. So this is a result of something that took place during the 50s? 40s?
Yes, after the book was published in 1962, that is when the main controversy started. But subsequent to that, it started being spread about the late 40s after the war, and we found the uses for it, but not really uses because they're bad, naughty.
In conclusion, Rachel Carson's book Silent Spring started a movement that is still being accepted these days about the effects that things can have on the environment and the way that they affect humans.
Due to the fact that we still find DDT in almost any plant and living species that are out there because of all the DDT that was spread so rapidly throughout the United States subsequent to the war. We're doing it. We can do this. DDT.
One believer at a time. Yay! The letters DDT stand for difluorodifluoroethane. I don't know what that means. Oh, yeah, okay. While I answer them, you can read the book, and then when you go back and say things, I can be reading the book.
Okay.
Huh, clever.
Then we don't have to do the awkward, staring at it.
Okay, this was fun. We're gonna be so cool. I wish we got to present these to the class.
That was awkward. Can you, fix my words?
Well, it all started in World War II when they discovered DDT is a pesticide that can be used.
The animal that's most affected by DDT is an eagle. They have the highest traces of them still in their bodies.
What does?
The eagles.
Eagle?
I did learn
Yeah.
that.
It's supposed to be our nation's bird and they're dying.
It's enlightening.
I know. Probably because they've been around the longest.
The plight of the American bald eagle. That's what I just turned to.
The plight.
It's weird.